Good afternoon, dear friends. We continue to be with you in our daily format, analyzing the situation on the front lines. But a few days ago, I was reading comments, and many people were convinced that everything would end soon, like in the coming days, especially since Trump had already said this week. However, yesterday clarified everything. The European Union leaders announced that they are allocating an additional 14 billion euros to Ukraine for weapons, including air defense systems and ammunition. Many leaders stated that they are ready to continue supporting and strengthening Ukraine, despite attempts by Russia and the US to end this conflict. Therefore, unfortunately, everything will continue, and certainly nothing will end in the coming month. For the past 2 days, we have been analyzing other sections of the front: Kursk Oblast, Kharkiv Oblast, and the northern direction. But now it's time to talk about the main section of the front. The main one in the sense that this is where the Russian army is currently achieving its primary successes. I'm talking about the south of Donbass, specifically the section of the front west of Kurakhove. Here, the Ukrainian armed forces front line has been collapsing and continues to do so. Even the redeployed reserves couldn't fundamentally change the situation. The UAF is retreating. Moreover, yesterday an entire UAF company, which was supposed to hold defensive positions, simply fled. As a result, the Russian army effortlessly occupied these positions, 5 square kilometers of fields, and half of a village. But let's take things in order. Let's start with the situation around Konstantinovka. Here's what's happening. Despite the UAF holding positions in the village itself, they are essentially trapped. Let me explain why. Look from the north. The positions there are under full Russian control. Russian assault units have already attempted to cross the river to enter the northern part of Konstantinovka. So far, the attempts have been unsuccessful, but they continue. But here, everything is clear. After capturing Uladivka, Russian troops quickly, within just a couple of days, occupied all the territory on both sides of the road from Uladivka to Konstantinovka. That amounts to 4 square kilometers. The same is true from the south. The southern part of the village is under full Russian control. So 3 sides are completely blocked. The UAF can only leave Konstantinovka via the H-15 highway, but they can no longer use it because it is under heavy fire control. Well, they can try, of course. But what will come of it? The chances are even lower than in Russian roulette. It might seem possible to try escaping through the riverbed, but again, Russian units have this area under fire control. Since they already control Andriivka and the fields between Andriivka and Alexandrivka, the only remaining path is through the valley to the village of Bohatyr. But as you understand, especially those who constantly follow and analyze military reports, this is open terrain, meaning a 100% chance of coming under heavy artillery fire. Thus, the Ukrainian armed forces garrison in Konstantinovka is already doomed. Moreover, 3 days ago, they requested their command to issue an order to retreat. I told you about this. But no order was given, and now 2 understrength battalions are trapped here. The path to the west is not yet physically or actually cut off, but if they try to leave, it will be under heavy fire. Meanwhile, other UAF soldiers on another section of the front decided not to wait for a retreat order, which, by the way, would not have been given, and made an independent decision to abandon their positions. Now I will tell you about this incident. I promised to tell you about the UAF company that left its positions, including defensive strongholds. I'll get to that, but first a few more words about this section. Look, the Russian command, without waiting for the operation to capture Konstantinovka to be completed, decided to move further. I mean to the west. They have already reached the outskirts of the next settlement, Alexandrivka. It's not clearly shown here, but American maps, for example, are more objective than this Ukrainian one. Here's how they depict it. There has already been not only an advance to the outskirts of Alexandrivka, but also an attempt to secure a foothold on the eastern outskirts of the village. This is being done for 2 purposes. The first goal is to facilitate the subsequent assault on the last major and fortified settlement. This one, the village of Bohatyr. It is the last fortified and large settlement in this entire area. The second goal is to bypass Alexandrivka from the north and reach the village of Zeleny Kut, from which it will be a stone's throw to Dnipropetrovsk Oblast. Literally, one village, Novopavlivka, will separate it. And if we count by distance, it's 3 kilometers. 3 kilometers to Dnipropetrovsk Oblast. As I mentioned earlier, my forecast remains unchanged. The entry of Russian troops into Dnipropetrovsk Oblast will occur around March 8th to 10th in one or another sector. There are currently 3 potential sectors for this. Here, plus the Kotlyarivka area and also the Udakna area. That is, west of Pokrovsk. Well, now let's move to the sector where the Ukrainian armed forces chose to flee rather than end up encircled like their comrades. We are talking about this sector, the area near the village of Skuchna. Look at the situation here. I already told you that there are 3 lines of defense here. One has already been completely and irreversibly breached by Russian forces. Another, the most powerful line with dragon's teeth, is slightly higher, near Shevchenko, and between these 2 lines lies the village of Skuchne. Nevertheless, defensive lines have also been built around this settlement. They are not as solid, yes, but there are several concrete strongholds, trenches, and wire here. The defensive positions in and around the village were held by remnants of 2 companies that had previously defended the heights near Velyka Novosilka and were routed there. They were redeployed here to hold the defense. The total strength of these 2 understrength companies was just over 100 men. So at the moment when Russian forces made 2 breakthroughs, one towards Dnipro here and the other towards Berlatske, plus completed the clearing of Novoye Ocheretuvate, those who were on 3 strongholds in front of the village, that is, on its southern outskirts, abandoned their positions and fled. Where to? Well, don't ask me, I don't know. Let them figure it out themselves. The main thing here is what you now see on the map. Namely, this entire area in front of the village is now under the control of the Russian army. That's 5 square kilometers, plus these 3 strongholds and trenches, and as you can see, not only the fields, but also the southern part of the village itself. The second part is held by the remnants of the company that did not flee. But, as you can see, the village itself is small, consisting of only 3 streets. The UAF won't be able to hold these positions for long. I assume that by today, maybe even by the time you're watching this video, they will have retreated further, towards the settlement of Veselo. Overall, if we summarize the situation here, it is quite dire for the Ukrainian armed forces. Russian troops are now on the outskirts of Berlatske, Privolne, Dnipro and Skuchne. Here, the UAF's only hope lies in the 3rd line of defense. It runs here, near Shevchenko, but if they fail to hold it, then it's over. 20 kilometers of open space without fortifications. That is the real endgame. Chasiv Yar direction, Russian attacks towards Stupokki. Situation as of February 25, 2025. Fierce fighting continues on the Chasiv Yar direction within the boundaries of Chasiv Yar. Russian paratroopers are breaking through the defenses of Ukrainian formations in the northern part of the settlement. More details on the situation in the Chasiv Yar direction. Yashuk footage has appeared online showing Russian assault troops on motorcycles attacking the southern outskirts of the city along the T-0504 highway towards Stupochki. It is still unclear how far the assault troops managed to advance and what territory was captured. It is possible that the progress in this sector is even more significant. According to our data, reports of the collapse of enemy defenses in the Dolgoye 2 area, where the now destroyed bunker near the children's camp Mir was located, have finally been confirmed. The first reports of the capture of the area around the facility appeared quite a while ago, but at the time they were not confirmed by definitive objective control footage. Novopavlivka direction, fighting near Nadezhdinka. Situation as of February 25, 2025. Heavy fighting continues along the entire contact line on the Novopavlivka direction. The enemy is constantly counter-attacking to prevent a breakthrough by Russian forces towards the administrative borders of Dnipropetrovsk Oblast. More details on the situation in the Novopavlivka direction. During recent clashes, Russian assault troops pushed the enemy out of several pockets with strongholds, capturing forest belts north of Uspanivka, between Nadezhdinka and Serebryanka, and east of Nadezhdinka. Interestingly, after the official liberation of Nadezhdinka, the settlement was briefly retaken by the enemy, but the Russian armed forces quickly regained control. This information, by the way, didn't even have time to leak online. Everything happened so quickly that no one managed to report the event. It became known only some time later, when Nadezhdinka had already been liberated again. Her heavy clashes also continue in the Zaporizhzhia sector and near Preobrazhenka. Velyka direction. Major advance by Russian forces from Velyka Novosilka. Situation as of the end of February 25, 2024. On the former Velyka direction, Russian troops are demonstrating impressive progress by local standards. Extensive territories in the fields between the settlements of Novocheretouvate and Novosilka have been captured. Notably, at least some of the positions were abandoned by the enemy without a fight. As a result, by February 20th to 21st, Russian forward groups had effectively reached the approaches to Belatske and Privolne. More details on the situation in the Velyka direction. According to local sources, in the fields and strongholds west of Novyi Komar and Novocheretouvate, Russian forces managed to capture several large strongholds and take control of the Kruhli ravine by February 21st. Interestingly, this was achieved with almost no losses in equipment. A remarkable success, given the current intensity of drone warfare. But meanwhile, further west, near Privolne and Belatske, progress was more difficult. The enemy launched numerous drone and artillery strikes, but even there, the UAF could not hold out for long, largely due to the loss of positions near Novocheretouvate. Additionally, between Rivnopil and Novodarivka, Russian forces recently established control over forest belts in a small pocket between the settlements. However, the enemy still maintains a presence in close proximity to these villages. Moreover, the scale of the advance may be even greater as the Russian offensive continues. It is possible that evidence of new successes by Russian troops in this direction will soon emerge. Well, that's all for today on the situation at the front. I bid you farewell. I wish you a good workday. Take care of yourselves, and until next time.